Dear students, welcome back to the 10th session of Communicative English. I am Dr. Archana Durgesh from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, BBD University. As I told you in the last session about analyzing, interpreting, summarizing, paraphrasing, now I'm going to tell you about another tool of writing, that is translation. Now, before we begin on translation, when I was a student, my sir told me that if you want to teach John German, you must know John and you must know German. This quotation, I think, was told to me in 2001 when I was a student. Unfortunately, my teacher is no more, but he has left that knowledge with me, which I am going to impart with you today. Translation, is a very nice task, but is it a very difficult task? Because you don't have to only translate the words. You have to translate culture to culture. Now there are certain technical terms which are used like source text, target text. If I say et tu Brutus, then it is a source text. If I say you do Brutus, then it is the target text. Now this was paraphrasing, but translation is entirely different. Translation is done from language to a different language, maybe a dialect to a different dialect or a register. These are the other technical terms which are used for languages. Now, if I say something in Hindi and I have to say that in English, then you have to translate. Now, I am going to give you a sentence. Please copy it down very carefully. Again, same teacher, professor in Lucknow University gave me this sentence. So I am going to, after 19 years, I am going to give you the same sentence to translate. So please take out your sheet of paper, a rough copy or a pen, and start writing. मेरी माँ रसोई घर से गुस्से में गुनगुनाती हुई दाल में तड़का लगा के निकली. मेरी माँ रसोई घर से गुस्से में गुनगुनाती हुई दाल में तड़का लगा के निकली. This is the sentence and I want you to translate it. It's a very easy sentence. Translate it and please come back with the right translation in the comment box. I will see how many translations do I get. Okay, now on this note, I am going to begin with the translation. Translation, as I've already told you, it's an art. Before moving on to the rules and regulations, there are certain things that you must know. As I told you, you must know John and you must know John. John is a person. You have to understand him. So if I have to teach you, then I must know you and I must know the subject. Okay? So translation, even in my last session, one of the last sessions I told you is like a beloved. If she is beautiful, she is not faithful, and if she is faithful, she is not beautiful. In the same way, when you translate this sentence that I have given it to you, you will come to know. Okay? So let's begin with the sharing. The sharing is of notes, and these notes can be used as a primary or secondary data. You already know that. So let's begin. You must understand that you are not supposed to just read the text or listen to your voice in your head. No, you have to be very careful when you are making this. Make sure when you begin or start with the text, be confident that you can do justice with the text. You don't have to think after taking up the task. You have to think before taking up the task because you have to do justice to the text. Text requires a lot of justice. Unless and until you know the language, you know the correct grammar, you won't be able to translate. Okay, I know French is great. I know everything, so I can translate. But it's not that easy. You have to know the genre, the generation, the time in which this text was written. Have you have any have you ever had any kind of historical perspective when you look at this text? That is what justice is all about. You have to do justice to the text. You have to read it carefully, and to know the correct perspective, you have to go through that time, that historical perspective. Check and double check. Then check again the place name, the proper name, the peculiar words or idioms, and obviously anything that seems unclear. Please don't feel shy to look into the dictionary, Wikipedia, Google, or talk to a native speaker or the author, whatever it takes. If the author is available of course. You should always refer to these things because you're about to take a Herculean task. You're about to translate, and translation is just not of the text, just not of the language. It is of the culture, it is of the perspective, it is of the folklore. Like if you look at the dramas by Girish Khanna, they are woven around the folklore. He tells he sets up the scene of the drama in a very historical perspective. There's so many mythological tales attached to it. So you have to take that into consideration. If you don't know certain meaning, certain things about it, please look into the dictionary or the Wikipedia before taking up the Herculean task of translating something. Don't assume that the author knows everything. Check the facts. There too, sometimes you might not, but you may catch minor mistakes. Everybody is not everybody can't be perfect. You can find mistakes. So you must always not assume that the author knows everything. He might not know it. So you must take your initiative. You must check everything. Don't always translate every last word, leaving some untranslatable expressions that can add to the local color of the picture, but are comprehensible in context can actually enhance the text. But now you cannot translate each and everything. Like I gave you an example of dal ka tadka. Now, dal in English, if you'll find, if you even go to 5 stars, 7 stars, you'll always find arar dal, dal tadka there. Tempering is entirely different. If you say, ma'am, you can use the word tempering in case of tadka. Excuse me, tadka is entirely different and tempering is entirely different. Please brush up on your knowledge. In Indian context, if you go by tadka, there are at least 70, 80 kinds of tadkas that you can give, which is in general walk of life even known as bagar. So there are so many things, there are so many local flavors attached to it. Getting my point? So you cannot, make the picture comprehensible. You have to take the context, which will only enhance the fabric of the text. Culture is really very important, and the context is really very important. Challenge the reader. Never dumb down. Explain the culture just slightly if you need, but only enough to keep the story moving. Like suppose if you are making a translation, just see to it that you have to leave out certain things and you have to add on to certain things. I hope many people of you have seen saying this bling. There are very funny references where Lara Dutta translates what the actress, I don't remember her name, she says in English to Akshay Kumar who cannot understand any word of English. And then whatever he says in pure Punjabi or Hindi, Lara Dutta translates back it to the actress, and because she doesn't understand Hindi or Punjabi. It's very hilarious kind of a scene. You must, if you get time to watch that scene, you can watch that. You'll come to know the challenges. Sometimes you have to just tell the story in a nutshell. You have to tell the background attached to it before you move on. Like for example, if I took the example of tempering, you must you the word tempering must have come to your mind, but I have told you a perspective. I shared my perspective that in Indian culture, Tadka is entirely a different thing. It's something more than that, very much before more than that. You cannot, just take it for granted that you can put a word synonymous to it in any context, because the context really matters. Now, just don't read the text. Listen to the voice in your head. After reading the text, you have this capability to interpret. Now, please don't confuse. You are translating. You're not interpreting. But you must read the text and listen to the voice in your head. What have you understood? Work on the first sentence over and over till you think what you have got is the right voice. Rethink, take a break, take a walk, take a different perspective, take a different angle, leave it for a couple of days. If you are not getting any new idea, leave it, sleep over it, come back, and then start over again. You will get a fresher perspective, a new perspective, a novel perspective. That way you can be able to translate beautifully. Do your first draft quickly once. You've got the writer's voice. You don't be able to hold it for long. Now, after that, you have read the first draft, like you have read the author's expression, and you have understood it. Do it as soon as possible, because for a very long period of time, you won't be able to hold it. Next thing is that don't interrupt the flow to puzzle over the difficulties in the text. Leave them in the original to go back on it later. You need not to ponder over them right now, here, because you're working on the first draft. So don't interrupt the flow of the puzzle. Don't puzzle over difficulties in the text. Maybe you will be able to do it in a better fashion if you take the second chance. Be faithful in the first draft. Reproduce the surface, don't be an editor. Now, please try and understand, you are not an editor, you are a translator. You are translating the text, you're not editing it. So, stick to it. Don't change it. Because if you change the perspective, if you will change the portion, then it will, if you will change the basic fabric, then the things will become really difficult. If necessary, translate expressions literally the first time around, but don't leave out anything. Try and translate the expressions, maybe word to word, maybe in the literal sense, and don't leave out anything. Don't think that I'll come on it over later, because right now you are doing the translation. Don't get into the intricacies of the difficult things, the technicalities, the cultural translation, because cannot be easily translated. Yeah, in some other session, I gave you the example of tea, that this tea has been taken, but never ever anywhere did I say thi because Juta or Sacha is, is something which we take in our culture. We never ever talk about Juda and Sacha in Western culture. In the Occident, that is the West, there is nothing like Juda and Sacha. But when you come to Orient countries, Orient means Eastern countries, you talk about the Juda Sacha, especially in India, it is very prominent. नहीं यार जूठा तो नहीं है people ask before drinking water from anybody's bottle. I ask साफ है जूठी तो नहीं है. What is this? Taken is entirely different. It doesn't mean that it has been sipped by somebody. Instead, I can say that I've already had a sip from this tea. But then again, it is beautiful translation. It's not faithful. It hasn't said that it is duty, because there is nothing like duty in English. You can't say that this tea is a liar. Duty? Liar? But this liar has nothing to do with taken. Okay? So you cannot translate everything. Don't look at the original text when doing the second draft. This time, write it as though you are writing the in the target language. Now, when you are doing the second time, This time, write as though you were writing in a target language. Don't look at the original text. Otherwise, you won't be able to justice. Because during the first draft, you have already had a good look at the text. You know the text. Don't worry. You know the text. But if there is any kind of confusion, then I'll definitely suggest that at this point even you can look into the text. But don't stick to it. Don't interpret. Maintain ambiguities and uncertainties. Like suppose I have asked you to translate something. I have asked you to translate. I have not asked you to interpret. I have asked you to translate Chakshusha Mansa Vacha Karmana Chaturvidam Prasidati Loko Tam Lokonu Prasidati. Now this is in Sanskrit and I'm asking you to put it in Hindi or English. I'm just asking you to translate. I am not asking you to interpret it. Maintain all the ambiguities and uncertainties because you are just translator. You are not an editor and you are not an interpreter. Interpreter can add a few things. He can talk in cultural perspective. A translator has a very difficult task. He can, but he has the you can add on benefit that he can continue with the ambiguities and uncertainties. So use that extra benefit that you have. Let the second draft cool for a few months. Go back to it after a gap. Now, after that you have completed your second draft, don't think that you have reached the final stage. Let it cool. Take a few days gap, maybe a couple of weeks or a month or a couple of months, and then go back to it after the gap. You will find all the errors that you have already made, and you thought that they were not wrong. Be a jealous lover with the final draft. You know what is a jealous lover? He cannot share. So be a jealous lover with the final draft. Be very zealous that you do not commit any error. Question everything. Stop to admire. Have the time to stand and stare. Get angry if you wish. Be upset. Fall in love with the original again through the translation. Because it might be that there are n number of people who cannot read Marathi. When many books are translated from Marathi to English. But that basic fabric should be maintained. That crispness should be maintained. That spice should be maintained. A couple of years back, I read a book by Om Prakash Valmiki ji. Unfortunately, he is no more. He wrote a book, Juthan. That book has been written in pure Hindi, but it has been translated by some Miss Guha. It's a beautiful translation. But after reading the translation, I feel that how beautifully it would have been written in Hindi. Maybe Hindi will have a more feel to it because our native language is Hindi. Sometimes we are able to express ourselves in a better way in our mother tongue because there are no limitations to language, to diction, and to grammar. But when we talk about a foreign language, there might be some kinds of uh, things that I feel that I won't be able to do it. Now, print out one of the drafts and correct with the red pen. You can use a black pen, but blue and black are not that visible in printouts. If you use a marker or a red pen, then you can easily identify your mistakes and the awkward passages that you jumped off the pages. They don't jump off the screen to the same degree. Now, you might not be able to have comprehend it at that time, but now that you have a broader perspective, your horizon has increased. Maybe you are able to translate it in a better way right now. You can do justice to it. Please see to it that you don't translate more than 5 pages at a time. If possible, even when revising, take frequent breaks. It is very necessary to give your mind certain rest because it's a, as I've already told you, it's a Herculean task. You're not only supposed to change from one language to another, you're even translating the culture, you're even translating the psyche of that person, the emotional state of mind. You're even translating somebody's feelings, emotions. So you need the right kind of words to bring out the right meaning. to bring out the right feel, because people are entirely depending upon your translation. The readers are entirely depending upon your translation. They are not able to read the target text. No, sorry, the source text. But definitely they'll read the target text and they'll feel that this is what originally the author had said. Okay, so you have to give yourself a break. Respect the register of language as well as the era, which means for stories set in the past. Checking to see if the words were used and had the same meaning. For example, if you take the word nice, if somebody is wearing a dress, it's very nice, and they ask how is it, and we say very nice. But nice has been derived from the term Messiah. And believe me, you can check it in the Google even. A couple of centuries back, nice meant foolish. So you have to see that if you are translating the word nice, in which century was it written? It might mean foolish. You're looking very foolish today. But on the contrary, if it's written in the 18th, 19th, or 20th century, 21st century, it even means that you're looking very nice today. You're looking very good today. So you have to know the era, stories from the past, the historical perspective. Sometimes history is even responsible for the text to be rendered. You know, there is a twist and turn. The history is responsible for that. The genre is responsible. The year is responsible. The era is responsible. For example, Sati, Johar. These are the things that existed in the past. How much important it would have been for somebody that she burnt herself alive. Her husband would have been so important. Or the social pressure, her honor, which was so important that she burnt herself alive in Johar. Can you translate it? Of course you can. Only if you know the historical perspective. Honor is more important than anything else. For a woman, virtue is really very important. And if you are talking about a woman's virtue, you must feel that way. Translation is not that easy. You have to take each and every perspective in mind. You have to take the perspective of the author in mind. What was his mental state? What was his thinking when he wrote this? The meaning of the words even change over the centuries, over the period of time. Avoid looking at the source text for the second draft. Correct it as if it were written in bad English. Now, when you are working on the second draft, make sure that you don't read the source text. Please, this is where you need to correct yourself. I told you that when you are translating for the first time, that is when you are creating the first draft, you must stick to the source. But now, when you are doing it for the second time, you're creating a second draft. Please don't read the source text because you've already translated the source text. What you right now need is that you need to correct whether what you understood has been rendered in the right language or not. Correct as if you are correcting the English. Correct it with a teacher's perspective, as if you are checking a copy. Always respect the author's intention. Even if you don't, always respect the vocabulary, syntax. Syntax is a sentence construction, rhythm, etc. It is really very important in what rhythm, rhyme, vocabulary, syntax structure the sentences, the paragraphs have been designed. It really matters. I know everything cannot be translated, but these are certain rules that you have to take into consideration. There are other things from the notes I would like to share. These are 20, 25, 15, 15 to 25 rules that you need to know while you are translating. You can use them as the golden rules if you're asked a question on this. What are the rules of translation? You can rewrite these answers. Now I'm going to share the other class notes that I have on translation. This is module 2, and in module 2 there is a section of translation, translating from Hindi to English and vice versa. Translation is the transmittal of written text from one language into another. Although the terms translation and interpretation are often used interchangeably, but by strict definition, translation refers to the written language and interpretation to the spoken word. Translation is the action of interpretation of the meaning of a text and subsequent production of an equivalent text, also known as it is also called translation. Now, that communicates the same message in another language. If you say that I am translating, firstly you need to understand the source text. Like for example, if you take a Hindi text, there are exercises I've given below in this notes that you can help yourself with translating them. You can even attempt small translations. You can copy small paragraphs or small sentences in Hindi, and you can translate them in English, and then you can take up small sentences or small paragraphs in English, and you can translate them in Hindi for the benefit of understanding the exercise of translation in a better way. Now, translation, when you are doing, it's of the language, as I've already said, from one to another. But what happens is that there are certain words which have the meaning of it only in that particular language. Like for example, the चाय झूठी है, लड़की नीचे खड़ी है. You're going to translate them. Translation is a very difficult task. You have to read a lot. You have to be well read. You have to have a good command over your vocabulary. You have to have a good command over language. You have to, and you know what? Most important of all, you have to have a lot of patience. Because everything is not instant. It's not a 2-minute noodle. It's not an instant coffee. You have to pay a lot of attention. You have to pay the attention to the intricacies of language. How important it is to translate one culture for another into another culture. There are certain things which are not acceptable in our culture. They cannot be translated because they don't exist in our culture. But there are certain things which are definitely there. There are many constraints, like rules of grammar, because two different languages have two different sets of grammar rules. Like the other day, I gave you the example of you. Now, in English, you means you, but in Hindi, you have aap, tu, according to your state of mind, according to your relationship. When you are communicating with somebody younger to you, you say tum. When you are communicating with somebody elder, you say aap. And when you are communicating, especially when we are angry, when we are communicating with somebody of our own age or maybe younger, then we use tu. But there is a catch. The catch-22 situation is that the other day I even told you something about the Marathi culture and the Awadhi culture. We are from the city of Nawabs. For us, tu is really very insulting. It's a huge insult. तू यहाँ क्या कर रही है? Even to an extent we don't like तुम. We like आप क्या कर रहे हैं? We don't say मैं. मैं is again very snobbish. It sounds very rude. It sounds very snobbish. आप on the other, हम on the other hand sounds very positive. हम आ रहे हैं. आप कैसे? हम ठीक है. But there are certain things which are not very easy to translate. If I say you, I even may mean tu. I even may mean tum. I can even mean up. So you have to use an add-on. You have to use your language in certain way that if you are talking to an elder, respect should be shown. It should be reflected in your message. If you are presenting it vocally or in a written way, the respect should be reflected. Unless and until the respect is reflected, it won't be very appreciable. Grammar, grammar has its own rules. In certain cultures, there is a problem like in French. If you talk about gender, in English you have masculine gender, feminine gender, neuter gender, common gender. But in French, there is only masculine and feminine gender. There is no common and neuter gender. Now things really become very difficult to translate. Because if you are talking, if I say my dear friend, then the spelling of my and the pronunciation of my is according to the male and female. Must share, must share. Even the spelling of dear changes. Share. If I'm talking about a male student, then it will be athudiya. If I'm talking about a female student, it will be athudiya. If I'm talking about plural students, it will be athudiya. So the spelling will definitely define the change. If the word is starting with vowel, it will have a different verb. If the word is starting with if the word is a feminine, then it will have a different verb. If the word is masculine, then it will have a different verb. And if the word is, say, plural, then it will have a different verb. There are four kinds of verb in French. La, la, le, lo. The indefinite article is used according to the gender. Now, there is a lot of confusion. When everything is masculine or feminine, then your there changes, pronunciation changes, spelling changes. There is a added accent. When someday I'll tell you about accent, the grave accent and the acute accent in French. The thing changes. Now you won't be able to translate because the shirt that he is talking about is a male shirt, is a female shirt, and you thought it was a male shirt. Yes, welcome to the reality. The shirt is even masculine and feminine. If it's a woman's shirt, it will have a different the spelling will end in a different way. It's chamois, and if it's a male shirt, then it will have a different spelling. Now, now in this condition, the translation really becomes very difficult because the grammar constraints, the spelling constraints, the basic rules, they come in. A common misconception is that there exists simple word-to-word correspondence between any two lines, and translation is straightforward mechanical process. It's a sheer misconception that you can translate from one language to another very easily. Ask people who are translators. Translation is a very difficult job. It requires a lot of precision. It requires a lot of active participation. It requires a lot of knowledge. You have to know the culture, you have to know the language, you have to know the perspective, you have to know the historical background, you have to know the historical persons involved, you have to know the places, you have to know the history of the places, you have to have the knowledge of the era, the social customs, you even have to know the folklores. Folklores means jatak kathaएं. Surprisingly, you'll be very surprised to know. Many of you might even know because today's generation is really very smart and techno savvy. Every state in India has a folktale. एक जातक कथा हर स्टेट की है इंडिया में. As many states are there, as many folktales are there. You go to south, you'll find many folktales. You come to north, there are different kinds of folktales. You come to west, there are different kinds of folktales. You go to east, there are different kinds of folktales. You go to northeast, there are different kinds of folktales. Everywhere you find Because everywhere the culture is entirely different. India is a land of diversity. You'll find it there. The social customs are entirely different. Even if you talk about North India, from family to family, the customs differ and you cannot translate them. It's not a mechanical process that you switch on and the machine starts working. The production is in process. You try Google Translation, you'll come to know. A word for word translation does not take into account the context, grammar, conventions, and idioms. Idioms are like sayings and all that. You cannot explain the context. While you are translating, you cannot take into account the context. You cannot do justice to grammar if you are translating it faithfully. Unless and until you translate it beautifully, you won't be able to do it. There's so many sayings. There are so many what do you call lokotya. Lokotya, maybe you haven't never come across this word. They are the local sayings. How can you translate them if their English equal does not exist? A couple of minutes back, I think I said, "जाके पाँव में फटी हुई वो क्या जाने पीर पड़ाई." Only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. But what I'm talking about in translation is where the shoe pinches, because new shoe always pinches. But what I'm saying in Hindi is entirely different. Why are cracks? The cracks in your heels, for which different creams and ointments are applied. It's a very painful thing. You're not able to stand. You're not able to lie down. You're not able to hold yourself straight because the heels pain a lot. It's a kind of a ailment for which treatment has to be taken in. So the only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches is not only it is a beautiful translation, but it's not a faithful translation. You must you if you want to translate it, then you must say that a person who has cracks in the heels only knows the intensity of its pain. Now this is the correct translation. Getting it's not easy. Everything has to be taken in consideration. What you are expected is that you must know certain rules and regulations of translation that I've already shown the slide. The file that I showed first, you'll be shared, you'll be given that file, you'll come to know the rules and regulations of translation. The second thing that you need to know about is that you must be in a position to define translation. Third thing what you need to know is the art of translating from Hindi to English and from English to Hindi. First and foremost, please try and understand the definition. You're not interpreting, you're translating from one language to another. You're not paraphrasing, you're not condensing or summarizing, you're translating. Okay? And the second thing that you need to know is that what you need to learn is that you must be in a capacity, you must be in a position to translate nominal Hindi sentences, nominal Hindi paragraphs into English, and nominal English paragraphs into Hindi. This is what is basically expected. Now, these are the exercises. Like for example, translate into English. समय सफलता की पूंजी है. समय का चक्र अपनी गति से चलता है. Like this is somewhat a kind of exercise that I chose for you people. So you can even translate this. It's not a very big paragraph. Then you are supposed to translate this into Hindi. Statistically, air travel is reasonably safe when compared with road, rail, and sea. I expect you to translate, and of course, if you are a registered student of BBD, these notes will be shared to you on Google Classroom. You will get hold of these notes. Now, coming to an end of the session, I must say that you must know the rules and you must know the skill to translate. Not much, but of course, you need to know. Translate from Hindi to English and English to Hindi. Start with minor sentences. Don't start with difficult sentences. But don't forget the one I gave you at the beginning of the session. I'm really eagerly looking forward to that translation. Okay? Thank you so much. We'll meet in the next session, that is the 11th session. See you soon. Take care. Stay fit. Okay? Take care. Bye bye.